Part 73. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 721. Chapter 721 Kidnapping. Daughter, this spinach is very fresh, please have a handful. Fang Xiaowai suddenly raised her head. Facing the face of the ant who was wearing a headscarf and stooping waist, under the weak light, I suddenly saw the face of Brother Yang. Fang Xiaowai almost screamed. Brother Yang gave her a look and said, "Girl, this spinach is really fresh. It costs 50 cents a handful, which is not expensive at all." Pitifully handed over a handful of spinach to Fang Xiaowai. Fang Xiaowai pretended to be impatient and had to pick and choose. "This is not new. You must have left over what you sold in the morning. It's all wilted. You still have to pay 50 cents a handful." He whispered, "What happened? Why are you dressed like this, and why is that man over there following me?" Fang Xiaowai felt something was wrong in her heart. "Daughter, we country people grow these by ourselves. They are really not expensive, and they are all good things." He whispered, "The truth has been revealed. The police are looking for me everywhere and are offering a reward of 100,000 yuan for my arrest. None of them have seen you, they just know that there is such a woman, but if you want to find out who this woman is, I'm afraid the police aren't that capable. No one knows except me." Fang Xiaowai's eyes flashed with coldness. Of course Brother Yang knew in his heart that the woman in front of him had no feelings for him at all. The two people are just using each other. "Daughter, take pity on my old woman and buy one. Don't try to take my chances. You don't know what kind of person I am. How dare I come to you without any backup plan? This woman has a hard heart. I guess I wish I could die right now. Since you knew it, you still came to me. Do you know that the police have noticed me now? Do you want me to take your son and die together?" Fang Xiaowai smiled and looked at the spinach in her hand, picking it up. The man was a little confused in front of the fish stall. It was true that women could pick and choose every dish they bought. "You give birth to your son well, and I will take care of the rest. Tomorrow you tell your husband that you want to hire a nanny, and go to the labor market to find a nanny. Someone will contact you then. If anything happens, just go through it. She came to tell me. The police can't do anything to you. You don't have any evidence on your body. As long as I don't identify you, no one in the world can say that you are related to this matter." Brother Yang gave Fang Xiaowai a handful of spinach. "My daughter gets 3 cents apiece." Fang Xiaowai took out San Mao and handed it to Brother Yang. "I will raise this child well, don't worry. This is for Brother and Yang's heart." Fang Xiaowai took the spinach and walked slowly back to the bus stop, took the bus and returned home. That night, Fang Xiaowai told Song Mohuan that her belly was already so big and she would give birth soon. At that time, there were 2 children at home, and Song Mohuan didn't know how to cook or wash clothes. "It's better to hire a nanny." Song Mohuan was right. There were some relatives from the countryside who could help, but they didn't have many relatives in their hometown. The next day, Fang Xiaowai asked for leave and went to the labor market. After walking around the labor market for a few times, she saw a clean-cut woman with a happy face pulling her and saying that she did a good job as a nanny. Said to her secretly Brother Yang. Fang Xiaowai knew that this woman was probably found by Brother Yang. Without saying anything, she led the woman back home. She was also anxious. Now she was being watched and couldn't do anything. But, let's keep going like this. She had only one way to escape. She couldn't just wander around the world like Brother Yang. She couldn't bear to live her life now. She is even more reluctant to leave her own children. Fan Qiuying holds the sauerkraut she made. Tang yuan and steamed buns like dumplings stuffed with pickled cabbage. The most. I'm going to make dumplings for them at noon today. You can just take one bite for lunch. Such a big thing happened to the 2 children. As a grandmother, she couldn't bear the pain. Fan Xiuying felt really uncomfortable when the children suffered such a big crime, but she had a good eye for Baizai. This child is a child that I feel deeply in my heart. Such a well-behaved child actually encountered such a thing. Those human traffickers won't even spare a child as young as this. Zhang Lishi nodded. The honest Zhang Lishi couldn't leave. At noon, I have to pick up my 2 granddaughters and cook for them. Jiangxin's tailor shop is so busy. If their parents don't help, the children may not be so busy. Go ahead, don't worry about me. Let's have braised noodles for lunch. By the way, you can also help the old man and the old lady look after the 2 granddaughters. Tuan Tuan and Yuan can walk now. There will be more people watching, otherwise it will be easy bumping into each other. Most of the children born are dads. Fan Xiuying hurriedly took the sauerkraut and left. Zhang Lishi started to clean up the house. Suddenly I heard a noise at the door. Who? Zhang Lishi looked up and saw a one-eyed man appearing in front of him. He was about to ask how this man could just enter someone else's house without knocking on the door. As a result, the man raised his hand and punched him. Zhang Lishi's vision went dark and he fainted. Brother Yang carried Zhang Lishi onto a tricycle and covered him with a torn sack. Hauntedly, I rode a tricycle directly to the suburbs. Zhang Xian finally breathed a sigh of relief as she had just handed over today's goods to someone else. She had been too busy recently and had left early in the morning and returned late in the evening without having time to take care of her family. Hands up his watch and looked at 12 o'clock. The father must have picked up his 2 daughters. Get on the bike and get ready to go back and have a look. Zhang Xiaoxiao received the call, got into Song Moding's car and went straight to his home. What's going on? What's wrong with my dad? That kidnapped dad, and he left a message asking you to go see him. The kidnapping happened again, and he had already sent people to watch the Zhang family. Because the situation has been calm for more than a month, everyone's vigilance has dropped. Who would have thought that something like this would happen today? Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the note in her hand, and suddenly she was reminded of the same note when her grandma and grandpa were kidnapped. The above words are made up of words cut from newspapers. Anger and hatred surged in his chest. Zhang Xiaoxiao wanted to kill someone. For the first time, he had the urge to kill. I go. You can't go. Song Moding disagreed. You wait a little longer, my people should come back with news. The other party just doesn't give you time. Didn't you see what he said above, that he asked me to go to the air raid shelter in the suburbs at 8 o'clock in the evening? The air raid shelter extends in all directions. As long as you enter the air raid shelter, if you want to catch this person, it will be too much difficult. I don't want anything to happen to my dad. The last time something happened to my grandpa, I already felt guilty. If something happens to my dad again this time, Song Moding, I really won't be able to survive. Zhang Xiaoxiao grasped Song Moding's hand tightly. Song Moding held her hand tightly with his backhand. That's why you can't go. Your emotions are now dominated by your feelings, and you can't do many things calmly. And you know very well that he is here for you. If you don't show up, Dad may still be fine. If something happens, Dad will be 100% fine. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 722. Chapter 722 Compromise. What should I do? Just watch my dad there and not save him. Zhang Xiaoxiao said angrily. For the first time, I complained about Song Moding. The protection you promised. Song Moding said he wanted to protect his family, but now something happened to glutinous rice dumplings and buns, something happened to grandma and grandpa, and now even mom and dad are in trouble. This is protection? The protection is the same as that of a sieve. Help. But wait. Just wait one night. If something happens to Dad, I will pay you with my life. Songmoding knew that too many things had happened recently, and the two of them had never had time to relax since they got married. One thing happened after another, and the occurrence of these things had already overwhelmed Zhang Xiaoxiao's fragile nerves. He really felt sorry for Zhang Xiaoxiao. Many things happened not because of his kindness as a woman. If he had directly killed Brother Yang from the beginning, then there would be no other things that happened after that. But he will never tell Zhang Xiaoxiao about this matter, and the gap between them will become deeper and deeper. He knew that Zhang Xiaoxiao complained about himself, and he also complained about himself. But who in life would have known it earlier? There is no place in the world that sells regret medicine. If he could, he would definitely break Brother Yang's neck with his own hands. It cuts off these things that will happen later. Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't say anything anymore, because he didn't want to talk to Songmoding at all. Angry, Zhang Xiaoxiao gave Songmoding a back look, and then swallowed the sadness and hesitation in his heart alone. She can protect herself, but there is really nothing she can do if something happens to her family. The world is so big, where was my father kidnapped by that Yang brother? She regretted the last time something happened to her grandpa. If something happens to his father this time, Zhang Xiaoxiao will feel that he hates himself to death. Calmly sort out his emotions. Songmoding did not let her participate because he was worried about her. Losing his temper at this time would not solve anything. My own complaints are unfounded. Even she can't guarantee the safety of her family and herself, why should she force this responsibility on Songmoding? Songmoding has done a lot of things, and no one can predict the sudden outbreak of these things. You can't blame this man for an unforeseen thing. Every time something happened, Songmoding did his best to deal with the aftermath. You cannot vent your inner anger on this man just because of irresistible reasons. That's unfair. Songmoding was frustrated. Zhang Xiaoxiao's anger and accusations made him inevitably face the reality. He had not done many things well. He had indeed not done well the wife and family he swore to protect. No excuse could change it. A fact. It was his omissions and arrogance that caused Brother Yang to create troubles one after another. These three serious things all have the shadow of Brother Yang, and he is the culprit. Guilt, powerlessness, disappointment, frustration, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. What kind of woman is Zhang Xiaoxiao? She trusts herself wholeheartedly, entrusts many things to herself, and even gives her secrets to him without reservation. As a man, as a husband, as a son-in-law, and as a father, he did not do anything well. The feeling of betraying the trust of my wife makes people feel very powerless. Two people turn around to face each other at the same time. Second brother, my attitude was very exaggerated just now, and I lost control of my emotions. I apologize for what I was doing just now, I'm sorry. Zhang Xiaoxiao took the initiative to speak. She is a straightforward person and is not used to being secretive. That is, since she made a mistake, she should admit it generously. Two people are husband and wife and will be together for a lifetime. They cannot never admit their mistakes just because they are women. It is okay for women to be a little pretentious or willful, but it will not help solve their current situation. Songmoding put his arm around her waist, hugged her tightly, and spoke in a hoarse voice. You never have to say sorry to me. I am your husband and someone you can trust. No matter how much temper you have, you can pour it out directly on me. I am willing to be that punching bag. Hold her slender waist that had quickly recovered after giving birth, and leaned her face on Jiang's small shoulder, smelling the familiar fragrance of her hair. I thought I could be the man who sheltered you from wind and rain, took on everything for you, and could protect you, your children, and your family. Suddenly one day I discovered that I was also a very fragile person. One day I found that I couldn't do anything. That would make me hate myself. Suddenly I felt that I had become a pale and feeble man. Apart from talking, he could not do anything. Every time it's an afterthought and you make up for it afterwards. What happened to my grandfather has made me feel regretful for the rest of my life. This time, regarding my father-in-law, you can rest assured that I will definitely save my father-in-law even if it costs me my life. I know how important your father-in-law is to you. Zhang Xiaoxiao sighed and put his arms around Song Moding's waist. He is a strong man with strong arms. Brother Song Moding, you and my dad are as important to me. I don't need you to sacrifice yourself for my father. Your life is equally important to me. You are an indispensable part of my life. We have long been closely related to each other. Although I will not die without you, I will live well for the sake of my children, but you promised me that you would protect me, stay with me, and take care of me for the rest of my life. I want you to live well. We will face the ups and downs in life together, watch the sunrise and sunset, and grow old together. We can get through any difficulties or hardships that happen. We are husband and wife, and any ups and downs can only happen with the two of us. Even if you are alone, you will not be afraid. I feel very safe when you are by my side. I want to live with you until my old age, with children around my knees and a family full of descendants. Promise me to take care of myself no matter where I am. Song Moding buried himself in her hair. I know that I will protect myself well, accompany you, and take care of you for the rest of my life. One life is not enough. I want us to be together in the next life, and to be together forever. His wife's words still made him choked up with emotion. The beautiful and kind-hearted Zhang Xiaoxiao always considers everyone and cannot bear to hurt anyone. How did Zhang Xiaoxiao know that Brother Yang was the one who caused the evil? Then let's talk. Song Moding smiled and pushed Zhang Xiaoxiao away, his eyes interesting. He knew that his wife was a tenacious woman who refused to give up, so how could she compromise so easily? I know you want to use yourself as the bait to meet that Brother Yang. Zhang Xiaoxiao's eyes were shining and there was a smile on his lips. That's my father. You also know that if I show up there, my father and I will have a much higher chance of surviving. If anyone can't do it, my chance of survival will be much higher. As long as the two of us cooperate. This is easy to do. I want my father to live, and I want him to live happily until he grows old. Song Moding sensitively caught the word "this life" in her sentence. This life? Perplexed that there was a previous life? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 723. Chapter 723 Meeting. Zhang Lishi woke up groggy, surrounded by darkness. His eyes were covered with cloth so he couldn't see anything, and even if he listened attentively, there seemed to be no sound. Suddenly he remembered the one-eyed man he saw before he fell into coma. Remember that the wanted criminal that the police said before was also a one-eyed man. Zhang Lishi felt angry. This one-eyed man must be the Brother Yang mentioned in the police wanted list. This man who harmed his father-in-law and his grandson actually dares to come to the door now. Police all over the street are looking for him. How vicious and fearless is this person who dares to come to the door and even arrest himself? He could guess without even thinking that this Brother Yang was definitely up to no good. Catch him, either to ask for money, or to threaten the police. Ordinary people like him have no money or power, and Brother Yang only wanted to arrest him for this reason. Money. There are no rich people in their family now. Then it must be for his own daughter. The most powerful daughter in the family is Zhang Xiaoxiao, who allowed her to marry into the Song family. Presumably the wanted criminal wanted to use him to reach certain conditions and get the police to agree or compromise. This man hurt his father-in-law, and actually wanted to harm his grandson. What on earth did their family owe this man? Let this man cause trouble around their house endlessly. It was quiet here, and it was obvious that the man was not with him. Zhang Lao struggled with strength. He was not an honest man who would sit still and wait for death. No matter what, he had to struggle for the sake of his children, and he would not leave his life in the hands of others easily. Suddenly, there was a sound of footsteps outside. Zhang Lashi quickly gave up his struggle, relaxed his body, and leaned against the wall, pretending to be still unconscious. There was no sound of the door being pushed or other doors being closed. He guessed that he was locked up in a place that did not require any closure. This man had ulterior motives. A pair of big hands pulled him up from the wall with force. A heartbreaking pain shot through his arm. The man pulled on the rope that tied his arm. "Stop pretending, you should be awake, let's go, I'll take you to a good place, your good daughter is coming soon, then you should be reunited as a family." A cold and evil voice sounded in his ears. Zhang Lashi stopped pretending and struggled hard. The man gave Zhang Lashi a stick. "You'd better be honest. Although you are about to die, there is no need to suffer any more torture before death. I am not letting you go alone, your daughter will accompany you." Zhang Lashi's heart sank. The man's words were full of malice, and the other party made it clear that he wanted his daughter to accompany him on the road. "I am about to die. If I combine this path together, it doesn't mean that I want them to die together." He absolutely believed that this daughter would definitely not be Zhang Xian and Zhang Yu. How much hatred is there? The other party wants Zhang Xiaoxiao to die with him. Wu. Zhang Lashi wanted to question this one-eyed man about what hatred his family had against this man. This man wants to do this to his family. Killed his father-in-law. He kidnapped his grandson and now even wants his own life and that of his daughter. It's a pity that this man didn't plan to say anything more to him, and just grabbed his arm and walked out. Zhang Lashi couldn't see the road in front of him and almost fell to the ground because he tripped over the stone under his feet. The man didn't care about his life or death at all, he just grabbed him by the collar and dragged him forward. The bumpy stones on the ground rubbed against his body, making his arms hurt. He could feel that the road was uneven and overgrown with rocks and weeds. This should be a wild place, but he didn't know where it was. From the friction along the way, he soon felt that his arms, back, legs, and buttocks were all scratched. Even when he was a little numb, the man finally stopped and left him there. In the darkness, the surrounding sounds became extremely sensitive, and I could feel the man smoking. But other sounds are not so obvious, except for the chirping of insects and the chirping of birds. Zhang Xiaoxiao appeared alone on the path outside the air raid shelter in the suburbs. There is no one around. From the position of the air raid shelter, you can see the end of this path at a glance. If someone appears from these places, they will be easily discovered by the other party. Zhang Xiaoxiao was curious as to what this brother Yang did. His anti-investigation capabilities were quite strong. Of course the mystery will be completely solved today. She wants to know why brother Yang did this to his family. This brother Yang had never appeared in their home in his previous life and had nothing to do with their family. He didn't even know such a person in his own mind. But this man suddenly appeared in this life, and he was completely entangled with her family and Zhang Xiao's life. It can be said that he does everything he can to murder his family members. Even this time, Zhang Xiaoxiao could feel that brother Yang was afraid that she was the one he wanted to deal with. My old father is probably a fish in the pond. Calm down, he walked onto the path and walked directly to the entrance of the air raid shelter. At 8 o'clock at this time, it was already dark, and the air raid shelter looked like a monster with its mouth wide open, waiting for Zhang Xiaoxiao to throw himself into the trap. Zhang Xiaoxiao walked in. In the dark light at the entrance of the cave, a man suddenly appeared there. Zhang Xiaoxiao retreated warily. The light of the flashlight in his hand fell on the man's face, and the one eye could confirm that this man was brother Yang. Brother Yang covers his face. Jiang's small flashlight circled around brother Yang, but no one was there. Brother Yang was here alone, and his father was not here. Where is my dad? Zhang Xiaoxiao questioned. Brother Yang smiled and said, Zhang Xiaoxiao, don't be anxious. If you can't eat hot tofu in a hurry, your father must be in my hands. Otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? Disappear quickly after one sentence. It disappeared as suddenly as it appeared. Zhang Xiaoxiao cautiously took a few steps back to the entrance of the air raid shelter. Don't worry, I just want to observe, will your powerful husband suddenly appear? I don't want to be caught in someone else's trap. I don't know how long it took before Brother Yang appeared again. This time he seemed to have a very leisurely attitude. It should be that this man had just observed the surroundings and didn't find any ambush. This will happen. Don't get involved with other irrelevant people. Since you asked me to appear, I will appear now. Where is my father? Your father is staying in a very safe place. You don't think that I am stupid enough to bring your father to meet you directly here, and then be eaten directly by your brave and extraordinary man. I'm not stupid. If I are caught by you today, your father will be buried with me for the rest of my life. With your father as my companion on the road to hell, I believe I will not be lonely. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 724. Chapter 724. What do you want? What do you want? Just say it. Zhang Xiaoxiao felt something was wrong. The things Brother Yang did were intertwined, but they couldn't figure out each other's motives. This is the strangest thing. It is impossible that the other party is just doing it for himself. If you want money, you should state it in the letter in advance that there is neither a ransom nor any other requirements, just that you show up. Brother Yang smiled and said, it's very simple, I want your life. As soon as these words came out, Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled. We too have a grudge. On the contrary, Zhang Xiaoxiao relaxed, and it seemed to be no different from what he expected. The other party's purpose was very clear, and he was targeting Zhang Xiaoxiao. Brother Yang also smiled and said, if it weren't for his different stance, he would actually admire the woman in front of him. At such a young age, he is not timid when facing a vicious man like himself. She can talk to herself so calmly and calmly. It seems that this woman who can be guarded by Fang Xiaowai is really extraordinary. He had never noticed Zhang Xiaoxiao before. The only reason he knew about Zhang Xiaoxiao was because she was Song Moding's wife. This Song Moding blinded one of his eyes. He has always remembered it deeply, and fear was engraved in his heart. But now I found that Song Moding was very capable, and the wife he found was extraordinary. It's really the old saying, a jackal goes with a tiger and a leopard. You want to say there is a grudge? Does it count as grudge if your man blinded one of my eyes? How could Brother Yang tell the truth? Zhang Xiaoxiao is still more than 10 steps away from him. If he rushes up from this distance. The woman turned around and ran away. He was not yet completely sure that he could catch her. Brother Yang is not stupid, and Song Moding is definitely not someone who just sits back and waits for death. If he lets his wife go alone and is in danger, then only a fool would really let his wife go alone. But you took my grandpa's life. Zhang Xiaoxiao was unmoved, but he didn't expect that Brother Yang's eye was related to Song Moding. Stop talking nonsense, do you really want your father's life? Brother Yang doesn't want to get entangled in this topic. How can you prove that my father is in your hands, and how can you prove that my father is still alive? Zhang Xiaoxiao asked. She didn't see Zhang Lishi. I know your man must be hiding somewhere, just waiting for me to tell you where your father is, and then take care of it. Do you think I would run out here alone and take risks without being prepared? As fast as lightning. The moment Brother Yang said these words, he rushed over. Zhang Xiaoxiao was already 100% energetic, but there was nothing he could do. She has not been an agile person in her last life and this life combined. If she competes with others for physical strength, she will definitely lose. and he is the one who loses completely. Of course, the more important reason is that Zhang Xiaoxiao is not ready to escape. Even if she escapes, Brother Yang still has his father in his hands. It was still a lose-lose situation. She was using herself as bait. Only when she got into Brother Yang's hands would Brother Yang let her see her father. Brother Yang grabbed Zhang Xiaoxiao, and Song Moding clenched his fists in the darkness. Damn Brother Yang! Brother Yang laughed loudly. Song Moding, you haven't shown up at this time. Your wife is already in my hands. She is a man, shouldn't you come out? Don't think I can't see your tricks. Your wife fell into my hands on purpose, didn't you just want me to hand over your father-in-law? Song Moding's heart sank. This man seemed a little abnormal. The current development of this matter seemed to be a bit beyond their expectations. He knew that Zhang Xiaoxiao would not die. It is absolutely impossible for Zhang Xiaoxiao to die with those things in his hands. But they still don't know what this Brother Yang is going to do. Song Moding, whether you are here or not, I am telling you clearly. Have you seen what I have on my waist under my clothes? These are detonators. I believe this whole row of detonators can be given to me and your wife. Let's go to heaven together. Whether you are here or not, please listen to me clearly. Don't do anything casually, otherwise your wife's fate will not be much better. I am a wanted criminal with a bounty on my head, and my life is worthless anyway. But it's worth it to me to have such a beautiful daughter-in-law like you. Plus you have an old father-in-law who has never seen the light of day. If something happens to me, I would be willing to have the two of them buried with me. Brother Yang quickly Zhang Xiaoxiao's arms. Zhang Xiao was careful. The fact that this person didn't take his own life immediately proved that there was still room for change. Song Moding, I didn't expect that you are also a coward. My wife was caught by me in front of me, and you can still hold back and don't stand up. I admire a man like you, and I don't take your wife seriously. Punched Zhang Xiao the stomach. Zhang Xiaoxiao coughed in pain. Ahem. Song Moding's eyes were filled with red mist. Brother Yang must die. Does it hurt? Look at you, you are nothing in your man's eyes. You are like this, and your man didn't come out to save you. Tisk, tisk, I feel sorry for you, but don't worry. I will leave you alone. Corpse. Yanga took Zhang Xiaoxiao and left here. Zhang Xiaoxiao tried his best to see everything around him clearly, but unfortunately it was too dark. The air raid shelters here extend in all directions, and he had no idea where he was being pulled by Yanga or where he was going. Zhang Xiaoxiao was pushed to the ground, and then she noticed that there was a light on here. At some point, they found themselves in an abandoned chemical factory. Zhang Xiaoxiao's brain was running rapidly. She knew the surrounding terrain. All the terrain maps around the air raid shelter had already been taken out and studied by Song Moding and others. I've never heard of an abandoned chemical factory near here. At least it is not marked on the map, indicating that the existence of this chemical plant was after the map appeared. That's why no markers are marked on the map. Looking around, she immediately saw Zhang Lishi, who was tightly. Zhang Xiaoxiao rushed over, but unfortunately she was tightly and could not help Zhang Lishi up. Fortunately, her mouth was not blocked. Dad. Zhang Lishi didn't know how long he had been here. He just knew that the man left him here. After smoking a cigarette, he left quietly. He lay on the ground in a daze, not knowing what this man was going to do. After an unknown amount of time passed, I suddenly heard movement and footsteps. This time it was not the sound of one person's footsteps. The messy footsteps made him realize that there was someone else appearing, and he was wondering what this man was going to do. As a result, I heard the familiar voice of my daughter. Zhang Lishi was so anxious that he twisted around desperately, trying to break free and tell his daughter to run away. It's a pity that it can't be done. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 725. Chapter 725 Execution. The cloth on Zhang Lixi's eyes was lifted. Zhang Lixi blinked hard in discomfort before he could see everything in front of him clearly. Zhang Xiaoxiao was right in front of him, also tightly. Zhang Lixi whined loudly. Brother Yang was kind enough to untie the cloth from Zhang Lixi's mouth. Zhang Lixi eagerly blocked Zhang Xiaoxiao with his body. What do you want to do? You want money, we will give you money, but you want life, just take my old life and don't touch my daughter. Dad. Of course Zhang Xiaoxiao knew that her father would put his own life aside for her. Brother Yang clapped his hands. Your daughter's life is much more valuable than yours. But don't worry, I will definitely send you and your daughter on the road together. You will not be lonely on the road to hell. Your good son-in-law is so timid that he doesn't even dare to save your daughter. You are so blind. Brother Yang patted the detonator on his waist confidently. Zhang Xiaoxiao glared at Brother Yang. Since you want our lives, you can do it now, but you must let us die to understand. Why do you want the lives of our father and daughter? What have we done to make you pursue our family? Abandon. The kidnapping of my grandparents was for money, which is understandable, but why did you kidnap my son? Now you want the lives of our father and daughter? Brother Yang smiled and said, do you think I will say it? I'm not stupid. There must be a reason why I want your life, but I won't tell you this reason until I die. I'm just telling you that you shouldn't be offended if you offend me. Man, you hurt my son's future, so you must die. And do you know why I'm not worried at all? Even if Song Moding comes, the worst we can do is perish together. I will be very happy to have the three of you accompanying you on the Huangquan road. Now I will send you on your way. Hold a cold dagger in his hand. He saw her eyes widen, which was a satisfying reaction. This is normal. The sword will fall with one stroke. A dagger fell on the pulse on the right side of the back of his neck. Brother Yang, you beast. A soft voice sounded, but the threat in that voice made him almost wet his pants. He knew who the speaker was, and he also knew that his chance of making a comeback was over. Threatening my woman, that would make me uncomfortable. Brother Yang raised his hand and pulled the lead of the detonator between his fingers. With a proud expression, do you think I won't be on guard? I've been waiting for you to come, but you, a man raised by my female cousin, actually blinded one of my eyes. I just want you to die. Let us all die together. Brother Yang's fingers were strong. He has long thought of this happening. What evil deeds has he not done in his life? Now the streets are full of police officers looking for him, and people who want to exchange him for bounties. Even if he fled to the ends of the earth, countless people would betray him and plot against him at any time. Rather than live like that for the rest of his life, he had already thought about it and exchanged his own life for his son to live a peaceful life. Since he dared to come this time, of course he had made all-out plans and also prepared for the worst. Perish together was the last resort he thought of. With Song Moding's skills, he had no chance of winning against this man. But death is still possible. It's a pity that things went counterproductive. Brother Yang felt nothing, but he saw the lead of the detonator falling down with his fingers. Yes, he saw his fingers falling away from his palm with his own eyes. The detonator was also removed. Song Moding took back the dagger. Others have taken over his work. Song Moding helped Zhang Xiaoxiao up, untied the rope from Zhang Xiaoxiao's body, checked Zhang Xiaoxiao's body, and breathed a sigh of relief when he found no injuries. Zhang Xiaoxiao immediately untied Zhang Lixi's rope. Song Moding is a bit sarcastic. He forgot his father-in-law. He asked Jin Dachuan to send Zhang Xiaoxiao and Zhang Lixi home in person. Zhang Xiaoxiao shook his head, don't stop me from staying. I want to know why Brother Yang did all this. Song Moding knew that he could not persuade Zhang Xiaoxiao. Jin Dachuan and Song Jiang left honestly. Zhang Xiaoxiao was not very sure where they were now, nor did he know that there was such a remote and desolate place in the suburbs. It is far away from the lights of the rural city, but Zhang Xiaoxiao is no longer shivering because of the cold or the deadly atmosphere, but because he has witnessed how Song Moding dealt with Brother Yang, and realized that when Song Moding faced him, he covered up what kind of real methods, how to be a warm and generous man. Now she finally deserves the title. It seems that she has always underestimated Song Moding. Brother Yang's rigidity just now is completely gone. It was literally scared to the point of peeing. He was naked and stretched out on the ground. At first he cursed loudly, then began to bargain, and now he could only plead. Song Moding kept asking questions in a very soft voice, but what Zhang Xiaoxiao heard made her turn her head and vomit. Brother Yang told everything he knew about organ trafficking, making Zhang Xiaoxiao tremble with anger. Song Moding became more ruthless, and his sword skills became more cruel. The reason why those people were murdered was to harvest their organs, which were sold for hundreds of thousands. The police haven't gotten this list yet, but now Song Moding has. When Zhang Xiaoxiao heard this, she turned around and really vomited, and trembled from the bottom of her heart, because she knew that Brother Yang was a cold-blooded murderer. After Song Moding asked all the questions, it was obvious that Brother Yang had reservations and refused to answer anything about the main messenger behind the scenes. Grandma and Grandpa did it because of money, the glutinous rice dumplings and buns were also made because of money, and Zhang Lishi and Zhang Xiaoxiao did it for revenge. But Brother Yang actually carried it till now without saying why he wanted to kill Zhang Xiaoxiao. Song Moding stood looking down at the garbage, crying at his feet. This man could not stay. Brother Yang began to beg for mercy again. This kind of torture made him want to beg Song Moding to let him die quickly. It is more pleasant to die than to live. Take her away. His voice is polite. The scene below is not suitable for you. Zhang Xiaoxiao stared at Brother Yang for a long time. Did Fang Ziyi send you here, right? Brother Yang stiffened, and then asked as if he was ignorant. Who is Fang Ziyi? This is not what I intend to say. Xiaoxiao, leave immediately. Song Moding indifferently asked Zhang Xiaoxiao to leave. Zhang Xiaoxiao said in panic. Leave him to the police. Brother Yang must be sentenced to death, and Zhang Xiaoxiao did not want Song Moding to be stained with Brother Yang's blood. It's not about being soft-hearted. It's not worth it. What he did was murder. I will never let him continue to have the opportunity to do evil. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked down at Brother Yang. This man killed his grandfather, harmed his son, and almost killed the three of them. Song Moding will not let Brother Yang go. Song Moding hated Brother Yang with all his heart because of what he had done to her. Brother Yang opened his eyes and laughed. If he had one last chance to play tricks on this woman, he would not let it go. You stupid woman, he taunted, choking on his own blood and coughing. You are too soft-hearted, it's useless. Your stupid son was almost lame by me. I was careless. I should find him a better family. I will still have a chance to live. Next time. Song Moding did not let him continue to talk nonsense and blaspheme his son. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 726. Chapter 726. The system is gone. Fang Ziyi noticed a change in her points. She had already put a faraway talisman on Brother Yang's body just to confirm Brother Yang's situation. Once something happens, she will find a way to escape. I hope Brother Yang can succeed this time. Brother Yang's goal this time is indeed to kill Zhang Xiaoxiao. Only when Zhang Xiaoxiao dies can he be successful once and for all. But his own 1,000 miles talisman disappeared in an instant. This talisman can't bring her points, but it can let her know about Brother Yang's situation. The only proof is that Brother Yang is dead. Otherwise, the 1,000 miles talisman will never disappear. Fang Xiaowai was momentarily panicked. Brother Yang is dead. So did Brother Yang tell her? Fang Xiaowai was very anxious. Although the man valued this child very much, it was compared with Brother Yang's own life. I believe that Brother Yang will definitely protect himself. Fang Xiaowai stood up, sat down, stood up again, and walked around the room several times. Then I noticed that my stomach hurt more and more. Fang Xiaowai said angrily, "You debt collector, why did you have to be born now? Do you know that your mother is now?" Before she could finish speaking, her stomach hurt so much that she could hardly stand up. Fang Xiaowai realized that she was really going to give birth this time. She staggered to the sofa, picked up the phone and called Song Mohuan. But there was no sound at all from the microphone. Fang Xiaowai slammed the phone down. At this time, this broken phone actually had a routing problem. Fang Xiaowai is getting more and more painful. Your vision is getting blurry. She knew she was going to give birth, but there was no one around her. She knew that many women gave birth at home. But she doesn't want it. There was no one around, and Fang Xiaowai was afraid. Afraid of dying silently at home. This is a debt collector. Fang Xiaowai gritted her teeth, thinking that Brother Yang was not a human being, and his child was actually a tormenting devil. Look at this time of selection. Fang Xiaowai is no longer alive. My eyes are getting darker and darker, and my abdomen is getting more and more painful. She cannot die. Fang Xiaowai was afraid that she would die. She tried hard to stay awake, and then she exchanged a longevity charm from the mall and threw it on herself. Although she spent all her points, she can definitely survive now. The system will not lie to people. Fang Xiaowai gritted her teeth and it started to hurt again. Song Mohuan walked in with his daughter in his arms, only to see his wife lying in the living room, and a child was born in a pool of blood. Wow, wow. The sound of crying attracted Song Mohuan's attention. Song Mohuan hurriedly put down his daughter and picked up the child. Fang Xiaowai struggled to glance at Song Mohuan. Xiaowai, it's a girl, it's a girl. Whether it is a boy or a girl, Song Mohuan feels that this is his own child. This child is really beautiful. Obviously he was born prematurely, but he was pink, white, and round, and looked really different from ordinary premature babies. Fang Xiaowai said angrily. Call me quickly and take me to the hospital. Song Mohuan simply cut the child's umbilical cord. As a pediatrician, he could still do this, although he was not as good as an obstetrician and gynecologist. There is still no problem with these tasks. I am helping my wife take care of her in an orderly manner. The medical staff have arrived in the ambulance and sent the mother and daughter to the hospital. Fang Xiaowai was lying on the hospital bed, looking at the baby next to her. The anger in my heart reached its peak because it was all because of this debt collector that he became like this. How could her father not be able to handle such a small thing? This child cannot stay with him, something will definitely happen. As long as she looked at this child's face, she was reminded of Brother Yang's face. Fang Xiaowai was going to throw a bad luck charm to the child, who was a newborn baby anyway. The possibility of dying from some congenital diseases is too high. I have never regarded this child as my own. Ah! A cry of surprise. Song Mohuan hurriedly ran to him. What's wrong with Xiaowai? What's wrong? Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? I'll call a doctor or nurse for you. However, he saw Fang Xiaowai bursting into tears. What's going on? Song Mohuan was heartbroken to death. Fang Xiaowai cried so hard that her heart was broken, but she didn't say anything. Song Mohuan was so anxious that he wanted to die. Xiaowai, don't cry. If you cry like this after giving birth to a baby, it's not good for your eyes. Doctors and nurses came to see her, but no one knew what was wrong with Fang Xiaowai or her physical condition, because the child was born prematurely and had a difficult delivery. Fang Xiaowai's body was seriously damaged, but her life was not in danger. Fang Xiaowai was filled with sadness and cried heartbrokenly. That was because she suddenly found that her system was gone. She just wanted to enter the exchange panel of the system and exchange it for a bad luck charm. As a result, she found that she suddenly lost contact with the system. No matter how she called, the system never appeared. This is her lifeblood, the way to make a living. If she doesn't even have this, what should Fang Xiaowai do? Fang Xiaowai was panicked, anxious, and scared. She had done so many bad things. What would she do if there was no system to save her life? She cried until the afternoon when there was no more tears to shed. There was no point in crying. Even if she cried to death, the system would not respond. Fang Xiaowai can only hope that maybe the system will be restored tomorrow, probably because giving birth consumes too much energy. Last time, the system reminded her that if she had no health points, she would die young and early. Fang Xiaowai fell asleep there uneasily. Half asleep and half awake, she seemed to see the system coming back. By the time she was surprised, it was already dawn, and it was already the next day. Fang Xiaowai's decadent discovery. The system is still not working, and no matter how I contact the system, there is still no response. Fang Xiaowai is completely desperate. The system has left her, and what capital does she still have to fight with Zhang Xiaoxiao? Even brother Yang is dead, and his own system is gone. If Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding came to visit him, he would really die without a burial place. The only thing she can rely on now is that Song Mohuan still loves her very much. The talisman used on Song Mohuan is still effective until now, and she also uses a longevity talisman on herself. I believe she can live well. She felt a little regretful. If she had known that the points in her system had been in her system, she should have converted them into talismans and thrown them into her body. But it's hard to buy things if you have money, did you know that? How did she know that this system would still be missing? Isn't this killing people? Song Mohuan came to Fang Xiaowai with his daughter in his arms. The child is hungry, please feed the child quickly. Looking at the little baby crying there, his face turned red and his hands and feet kept dancing. Song Mohuan was extremely distressed. His daughter had not eaten anything since she was born. Fang Xiaowai had a cold face. When she saw the child in front of her, she was very upset. Needless to say, she had to feed her. Why? She doesn't welcome the arrival of this child at all. She could have used her to restrain Brother Yang, but now it's good, Brother Yang is gone, so why should she keep this burden in front of her? No feeding. Fang Xiaowai turned over coldly and gave Song Mohuan a slap on the back. Song Mohuan begged Fang Xiaowai hard, but his wife was indifferent. Song Mohuan had no choice but to go out and buy milk powder. After returning from the bottle, he helped the child prepare milk powder and drank half of the bottle. The child finally stopped crying, burped, closed his eyes and fell asleep peacefully. Song Mohuan was a little helpless. His wife didn't want to see the child. Perhaps the wife also wants a boy. He will definitely let his wife understand that he is not a father who favors sons over daughters, and he will definitely treat the child well. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 727. Chapter 727 Speculation. Fang Xiaowai was out of confinement and began to return to work. In the past month, Fang Xiaowai has gradually accepted the fact that she has completely lost her system. There is no way, the system is gone. As silent as it came. What makes Fang Xiaowai furious is this. Since it is going to leave, why not let yourself have it in the first place? If she had not had it, she would not be full of hope for the future. She was jealous and resentful. She didn't know if the things Zhang Xiaoxiao had there were still there, but she had been hit hard here. The confinement period was the same as last time. Her parents-in-law didn't care at all, and they just sent the nanny from home to help her. But this time is different from the last time. Last time she had to be distracted to take care of her daughter Nanan. So it is impossible to take good care of the body in many things. I did suffer from a lot of illnesses during the last confinement period. But this time it was different. This time she didn't even want to look at the child, let alone pay attention to her. The nanny was taking care of the child throughout the month. Fang Xiaowai this time, she was fat and healthy. She ate and slept well, and her body recovered immediately. Song Mohuan always thought that Fang Xiaowai was out of anger and that it would be better after the confinement. But who would have thought that his wife's anger was getting stronger and stronger, and she especially didn't like to see this child. What could Song Mohuan do to name the child Daodu? Seeing my wife not even looking at her little daughter. It is not an option to continue like this. As a grown man who has to go to work, he cannot stay at home and take care of his daughter. But the nanny will go back to her parents in 2 days. Either the couple hires a nanny to take care of the child, or the child has to be taken care of by an elderly person. But to whom? His mother had already said that she would not take care of her daughter after she gave birth to her. Parents can't count on them, let alone grandparents. There is no hope for their children in the eyes of grandparents. They can only see glutinous rice and steamed buns. What's more, Zhang Xiaobao gave birth to a pair of cute twins, and his grandparents were too busy to take care of them. Song Mohuan has a headache. Fang Xiaowai became more energetic. This child was wandering in front of her, and she didn't like any of them. She can't keep this child by her side all the time, it's a time bomb. Once Song Mohuan or the Song family discovers the child's true identity one day, then he will have to play it all. Song Mohuan has started to go to work normally, and Fang Xiaowai has also started to go to work. She had already made up her mind that this child must be sent away. It was early after get off work today. When Fang Xiaowai returned home, she found that her nanny had gone to buy groceries. The child was asleep and lying on the bed. The nanny must have seen the child asleep, so she took this opportunity to go buy groceries. Fang Xiaowai rolled her eyes, picked up the child and went out. She didn't have the guts to kill people and silence them. No matter what, Fang Xiaowai asked her to kill people with her own hands, but she still couldn't do it. If those systems were in place now, this child might have died long ago. But Fang Xiaowai really can't do it by herself. But she had already made up her mind to throw the child casually on the street or at the entrance of the orphanage. Think of it as an unwanted child. The child was thrown into the train station. Fang Xiaowai thought about it, this child cannot be thrown at the entrance of the orphanage. If you throw it at the train station, there are so many people coming and going, and the child might be taken home by someone. Henceforth he will never be seen again. But if they are thrown into the orphanage, it will be in the local area. The child will grow up in the future, and there is no chance that they will encounter it. This will not do you any good. Fang Xiaowai put her child on the waiting seat and slipped away quietly. There were so many people coming and going around, no one noticed, and soon a man came out and took the child away. Fang Xiaowai returned home happily. The nanny had come back and was running around the house anxiously when she saw that the child was gone. As soon as she saw Fang Xiaowai coming back, the nanny was so frightened that she almost lost her soul. She cried when she saw Fang Xiaowai. She cried and said that the child was asleep and she went to buy groceries. When she came back, the child was gone. Fang Xiaowai immediately pretended to be a loving mother and cried like a human being. Song Mohuan found out that his daughter was missing when he got home after receiving the call. Moreover, I don't know how it was lost, but it was actually lost at their home. It was useless to send the nanny to the police station. The police interrogated her for a long time. The nanny had just arrived from out of town. Country girls are very honest, and when the nanny went shopping for groceries, neighbors saw her, and people at the vegetable market also noticed her. This child disappeared out of thin air. The child seemed to disappear like air. Song Mohuan was very sad. That is my daughter. Just over a month old. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the little baby. Nearly killing someone in anger. Is Fang Xiaowai crazy? This is her biological daughter, and she actually threw it at the train station. Is this something humans do? Even tigers and leopards know how to protect their cubs. If they didn't know for sure that Fang Xiaowai really gave birth to this child, they would all doubt whether the child was Fang Xiaowai's child. It is really a child raised by Yehua. Like mother, like daughter. Zhang Xiaoxiao? Yehua. Think about your own biological mother, Yehua. Zhang Xiaoxiao has a keen intuition, and this child's life experience is probably also a life experience that is difficult to describe. Could it be said that Fang Xiaowai has followed the same path of Yehua's previous life? Cuckolded Song Mohuan. Otherwise, Fang Xiaowai would not be so disgusted with children. No one can tell how much Fang Xiaowai likes her daughter Nanan. It's definitely not because of gender, so the most likely thing is that this child is probably not Song Mohuan's child. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding looked at each other. Things seem to be getting more and more interesting. There is now a technology abroad called DNA technology that can identify parent-child relationships. In other words, whether you are a biological child can be identified by just one piece of identification. It can be done through blood, hair, nails, etc. You can find a way to find someone. Of course, it's up to you to get anything that can be identified from Song Mohuan. The technology of 1983 already had DNA. Song Moding smiled and said, "Don't worry. Leave it to me." The child started crying. Zhang Xiaoxiao unwrapped the child and saw that the child had some red and swollen buttocks. Full of heartache, this little girl is really suffering. It was bad luck to meet such an unreliable mother. When she saw this child, she couldn't help but think of herself. Maybe she was treated like this when she was a child. Wrong. When she was a child, she had already followed Fan Qiuying and Zhang Lishi home. At that time, Fan Qiuying and Zhang Lishi valued her as a treasure. How could they let her suffer such a pain as a child? It seems that this child is even more ill-fated than himself. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 728. Chapter 728 Retribution has arrived. Song Mohuan was a little listless. A year ago, my daughter was lost. Although he said this was a daughter, he never disliked her. He never disliked her as long as it was a child born to him and Xiaohui. But the child disappeared out of thin air just like that. No matter how the nanny interrogated him, he never found out that there was anything wrong with him. The police searched for evidence in many ways, but there were no clues. The child was just gone. Fang Xiaowai was so sad for 2 days, and then continued to devote herself to her life. Song Mohuan felt that Fang Xiaowai was a bit ruthless, but he also felt that Fang Xiaowai did the right thing. If she was like him all day long, how would she live her life? When I was getting off work, I suddenly saw Song Moding at the door of the hospital. Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao are already in their 5th year, and they have already come to Hoyan Hospital for internship this year. Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao got internship places with the best grades in college, and they didn't use any backdoor. Of course, with Mr. Feng's reputation, Hoyan Hospital opened its doors and welcomed the two of them to join. Mr. Feng wished he could keep the two of them now, but seeing the business of Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding's Renai Hospital was so booming, he knew in his heart that they would have a way out, and no matter what, they would not be able to stay in their hospital. Inside. As long as the two children can stay in the hospital and work hard, it is a kind of comfort. These two children are still some way away from officially becoming doctors. Of course Mr. Feng is willing to them. During the year they were working as interns, the two of them were also very busy in the hospital. Song Mohuan has not seen Song Moding for a long time. Even if he goes to his grandparents' house or visits relatives, he rarely sees Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao. Every time I see Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding's twin daughters, they are now 2 years old. I saw people calling me grandparents affectionately. He thought of his little daughter. If the child had not been lost, the child would probably be able to speak now. He has an indescribable feeling for Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao. These two people are mentally ill. She has already given birth to 3 children, and ended up adopting a bunch of children, so Bai Yi won't talk about it. Another steamed bun came later, but it didn't work out. I wonder why the couple went crazy. A year ago, they adopted another girl, Nyomi. I haven't had time to take care of my own children yet, and as a result, I have so many children. But he also envied Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao, even though they had 2 more children. But the old man and his wife, plus Zhang Xiaoxiao's parents Fan Jiuying and Zhang Lishi. I won't talk about Mrs. Song and Mr. Song. They are grandparents. They treat Song Moding as well as his own son. It makes sense that Fan Jiuying and Zhang Lishi help their daughters take care of their grandchildren. But what about Mr. Wu and Mrs. Wu? The family is out of reach, so they have to rush to help 2 people take care of the children. He didn't understand, but there was no way. He had no room to speak on this matter. But seeing that Song Moding was living a good life, he was not only relaxed, but also able to continue his career. It was said that the couple's career was going smoothly. The awards they receive in school alone are enough for them to become a successful doctor after graduation. That's how many hospitals are rushing to get them. In the past, he still had the heart to compete with Song Moding, but now he feels that he is a little depressed. Obviously she is still very young, but she has no ambition, and she is just dawdling in the hospital. Song Mohuan felt that even he looked down upon himself. Second brother, why are you here? Song Moding smiled and said, why can't I come to you? It's surprising. There must be nothing good for me to come to you. You should be mentally prepared first. If there is something good for you, I can't come for you. Song Mohuan was startled. This second brother spoke without concealment. Then just say it. But there is something good about Song Moding. 1 is 1, and 2 is 2. He will never hide it, twist it, and plot against you in his heart. Even if something happens, it will be done openly. This is something he admires very much about Song Moding, at least he is better than himself. When I was a child, I just relied on my parents to show off my power in front of Song Moding. In fact, Song Moding didn't pay attention to his father's love at all. Even if he did, he probably didn't care. I am just like a clown, running around in front of others all day long to show off my power. Now that I think about it, it's really childish. My daughter is now 4 years old. Song Mohuan feels that he should be mature now. Let's go to my house. It's hard to talk about it outside, and the matter is related to another person. Song Moding was not doing it for Song Mohuan. Seriously speaking, there is no brotherhood between him and Song Mohuan. In fact, the two of them are more familiar than strangers at most. Even he didn't expect that Fang Xiaoyi was so bold that she actually cuckolded Song Mohuan. I originally thought that Fang Xiaoyi had tried her best to marry into the Song family. With the Song family as her backing, Fang Xiaoyi should be devoted to Song Mohuan. Who knew that Fang Xiaoyi really gave birth to someone else's daughter? No wonder she wanted to throw the child away. This is evidence of destruction. The couple had long wanted to get rid of Fang Xiaoyi. Zhang Xiaohuai's novel Fang Xiaohuai has something that others don't have, although those who have followed Fang Xiaohuai have not discovered anything strange about Fang Xiaohuai this year, and even the people around Fang Xiaohuai have never had any unusual unlucky events. However, both of them still have fresh memories of the ability that Fang Xiaohuai showed last time. Leave this disaster aside, who knows what other conspiracies may be waiting for them. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding have analyzed it many times, and there is definitely a shadow of Fang Xiaohuai in Brother Yang's matter. Although no one can tell clearly, who is the woman who is entangled with Brother Yang. But the couple suddenly guessed from the appearance of the child that they were not sure that this child was really Brother Yang's. They don't know why Fang Xiaohuai had an affair with Brother Yang, but they don't need to know. Brother Yang suffered a lot for Fang Xiaohuai, but he didn't let go until the end, risking his life to save Fang Xiaohuai. It's a pity that Fang Xiaohuai didn't have that much pity for his child and threw the child directly at the train station. If Song Moding's people hadn't been following Fang Xiaohuai all the time, I'm afraid this child really doesn't know where he is. This means that the law of heaven is clear and retribution is not satisfactory. The two of them felt that the biggest retribution for Fang Xiaohuai was to make her lose everything she owned. Zhang Xiaoxiao had already discussed it with Song Moding, and Fang Xiaohuai's retribution had arrived. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 729. Chapter 729 Wearing a Cuckold. Song Mohuan looked at this as Song Moding's home. Song Moding and his family also bought a courtyard house next to their grandparents. Little Nyomi is playing with the building blocks on the table. Seeing Song Mohuan and Song Moding, the little guy staggered towards Song Moding. The little guy is still unsteady when walking, but he is extremely smart and speaks early. Baba. The words are unclear, but this child has grown up in the Song family for more than a year. She really regards Song Moding and Zhang Xiaoxiao as her parents. Song Moding picked up Xiao Nyomi. Xiao Nyomi, did you sleep today? Perhaps because the two of them brought the child back, the child was particularly attached to them. From the age of 8 months, the child will call mom and dad, and will pester Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding every night to sleep with them. Sometimes it makes the twin daughters Tuan Tuan and Yuan Yuan jealous. They say that their parents are too partial to their younger sister. Often Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding would hold a child each and reason with them. But everyone likes small glutinous rice. What a blessing among misfortunes. I slept. Little Nyomi is very well behaved. I don't know whether it's because Xiao Nyomi feels her own identity, or because the child is born to be sensitive to many things. From a very young age, Xiao Nyomi has been very considerate of adults. Not noisy, nor loses temper, cute, well-behaved, obedient and sensible. It seems that little Nyomi is afraid of not being loved by her parents. That kind of uneasiness seems to be carried in my bones. Zhang Xiaoxiao often pays more attention to this child, because Xiao Nyomi is more like a smaller version of himself. A self that is even more pitiable than oneself. Can't help but love. This is probably a kind of psychological compensation. Song Moding hugged Xiao Nyomi tightly and kissed her little face. Little girl, you lied to dad again. I asked Auntie. Auntie said you haven't gone to bed today. Go to the room and sleep. When you wake up, Daddy will take you there. Find Mom. Little Nyomi stuck out her tongue and said, Dad, I'm obedient. I'm going to bed right now. The little girl held Song Moding's neck with her soft arms, smeared her saliva on his face, then slipped off Song Moding's lap and ran happily into her room. Dad, I've covered myself with a quilt and gone to bed. Song Moding walked to the door with a smile. Sure enough, the little girl took off her shoes obediently, got into bed early, and lay there with her eyes closed, her eyelashes fluttering on her face. "Little girl, when you wake up, I will take you to find your mother." Songmoding closed the door of the room, and Xiaonomi, whose eyes were closed just now, opened them. A pair of eyes were pitch black, as if they were unfathomable. Hearing Songmoding's footsteps leaving, Xiaonomi closed her eyes again. Songmohuan was sitting in the living room a little bored. Just now he saw the interaction between Xiaonomi and Songmoding, and he felt a little emotional. If estimated based on time, my daughter who was born would be as big as Xiaonomi if she were around. You should also be able to hold your neck and call yourself daddy in a soft and coquettish way. But the child just disappeared. When he saw Songmoding, his dissatisfaction had reached its peak. "Songmoding, what does this mean? Are you stimulating yourself on purpose?" Knowing that his daughter was lost, he deliberately adopted a child about the same age as his own daughter, and deliberately acted so close to the child in front of him. This second brother has now fallen to this point. Should you use this childish method to stimulate yourself? Second brother, if you have anything to say, just say it quickly. I don't have time to sit here with you all the time. Besides, we are not close brothers. You have not been used to seeing me since we were young, and neither have I you. Why do you show love to others? Songmoding looked at Songmohuan intently. Who does Xiaonomi look like, didn't you notice? Songmoding's words surprised Songmohuan. How did I find out who she looks like? That's your daughter. She must look like her biological parents. Don't you two know who her biological parents are? This is such a strange question to ask. Who does Xiaonomi look like? How does he know who Xiaonomi looks like? The moment he saw Songmoding and Xiaonomi interacting, he felt so sad that he couldn't even bother to see who Xiaonomi looked like. This report is for you. Songmoding took out a portfolio from his study and threw it in front of Songmohuan. Songmohuan didn't know what was going on, but he suddenly felt resistant to this report. He didn't know what he would see, but he instinctively sensed that this thing might not be a good thing. It should be something that is very unfavorable to oneself. Second brother, just say what you want to say, don't be pretentious here, I don't want to see this thing. He would not open that file bag even if I beat him to death. If you don't want to read it, then I'll open it. There are 2 paternity test reports inside. Songmoding took it out, divided the document into 2 parts, and placed it in front of Songmohuan. Songmohuan was startled. Paternity test report? This is the now famous DNA technology. He is a doctor in a hospital, how could he not know about this? Second brother, if you have anything to say, just say it right at once. You've made it so confusing. I really don't know what you want to say or what you want to express. Songmoding looked at Songmohuan. Xiaonomi is Fang Xiaohuai's biological daughter. Songmohuan was so startled that he almost jumped up. Thinking of the soft and delicate little girl just now, his heart suddenly softened. It turned out that she was his daughter. But then he became angry immediately. His daughter was now holding Songmoding and calling him daddy. Could it be that Songmoding was responsible for the disappearance of his daughter? Second brother, what do you mean? You actually secretly abducted my daughter from our house. What on earth do you want to do? Do we have that much hatred? You didn't hesitate to steal my child in order to deal with me. As you are you crazy for raising your own daughter and asking her to call you daddy? Songmohuan was furious. Songmoding shook his head. Songmohuan was still the same as before. He had no brains at all. Did he not realize that there was something wrong with what he said? Why did you say that Xiaonomi was Fang Xiaohuai's daughter, but didn't say that Xiaonomi was your daughter? This paternity report shows that Xiaonomi is not your daughter. Well, I have to throw the thunder myself anyway. Then just throw it out and it will hit Songmohuan with 5 thunders. Second brother, You are too ridiculous. Can I believe you when you say that? What did you say? What did you say? Song Mohuan was stunned. He just realized what Song Moding said just now. Xiao Nyomi is Fang Xiaohuai's daughter, but not his own daughter. That means that Fang Xiaohuai made herself a cuckold. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 730. Chapter 730, Good Deeds. See for yourself. If you don't believe it, you can also take your own hair or Xiao Nyomi to take a blood test. I'd like to tell you that Hoyan Hospital has just introduced paternity testing technology. Originally, we didn't know that Hiren would introduce it so quickly, so the child's appraisal report was sent to Hong Kong Island. If you don't believe it, send it to Hiren, or send it to Hong Kong Island, or you can find someone you know well. Honestly, what do you think I did there? Song Moding had long expected Song Mohuan's reaction. Probably a man would feel that it was impossible for his wife to cuckold him, and he could not accept this fact. Song Mohuan picked up the two identification reports and looked at the words on them carefully. The first identification report has made it clear that the possibility of a mother-daughter relationship between the two samples is 99.9%. The other one shows a 0% probability of a father-daughter relationship. Song Mohuan's back molars hurt from biting them. You don't have to be a villain. As you said, the two of us don't have a deep hatred. There is no need for me to use such a report to deceive you or torment you. To tell you the truth, how did Xiao Nyomi get there? For our family, you should go back and ask Fang Xiaohuai. At first, Fang Xiaohuai went home early, hugged the child, and threw the child at the train station. If my people hadn't been following Fang Xiaohuai at that time, someone might have taken this child away. We have this suspicion, of course, because Fang Xiaohuai does not treat her own daughter like this at all, so she went for this test. Think about it for yourself. You are Fang Xiaohuai's husband. What's wrong with your wife? Don't you have more say than us? You should know better whether this child is yours or not. Song Moding watched as his younger brother's face turned blue and white, then white and green again. No man would be able to remain calm in such a situation. Song Mohuan stood up and rushed out with these two reports without saying a word. Song Moding knew this would happen. This child had nothing to do with Song Mohuan. How could Song Mohuan not ask clearly? Looking at the glass of water on the table, the aunt just poured 2 glasses of water for the two of them when Song Dynasty came in. This water has been added with ingredients. Now it seems that the glass of water is only half full. Song Mohuan stumbled out of here. The whole journey back home was in a state of confusion. Suddenly, some strange things from the past suddenly became clear before my eyes. Fang Xiaohuai disliked this child so much. Fang Xiaohuai also gave birth to a daughter, Nanan. But how did Fang Xiaohuai treat her daughter? She was like a pearl or a treasure. She wanted to hold it in her mouth for fear of melting, and hold it in her hand for fear of losing it. But when it came to her second daughter, Fang Xiaohuai had a look of disgust on her face, and the child had never even had a mouthful of Fang Xiaohuai's milk. From birth to later, Fang Xiaohuai never held the child at all. At first he thought that Fang Xiaohuai was patriarchal, and because he had not given birth to a son, he turned his anger on this daughter. But now that I think about it, I'm afraid that's not right. Even if it's not a boy, she is still Fang Xiaohuai's biological daughter. How can a biological mother dislike her daughter so much? If you think about it this way, this child is not her daughter, and Fang Xiaohuai's dislike may be excusable. Is it because you are afraid that the child's identity will be exposed and discovered by you? No wonder the babysitter said that the child who was fine disappeared at home. No matter how much investigation was done, he could not find out how the child disappeared. So far, this case at the police station is still a bizarre case, but if Fang Xiaohuai took the child out by herself, then it all makes sense. Even if this child is not her biological child, it is Fang Xiaohuai's biological daughter after all. How cruel must this woman be to be so cruel that she can throw a newborn child at such an old age into the train station? But whose child is this child? Song Mohuan was angry. I have never been so kind to a woman in my life. His popularity with women has always been very good. When I married Fang Xiaohuai, I only married Fang Xiaohuai because Fang Xiaohuai was really beautiful and had a docile temperament, and the two of them got along well in many aspects. Otherwise, given her family background, how could she possibly marry Fang Xiaohuai? He remembered that he disliked Fang Xiaohuai very much at the beginning, but he didn't know when he suddenly changed. In my heart, I treat Fang Xiaohuai as a fairy, and I cannot love this woman too much. But just now I was sitting in the car and somehow, the fog in front of my eyes suddenly dissipated. Fang Xiaohuai like this made him feel sick. Many things were flashing by in front of his eyes, like a movie. Fan Jiangguo and Lu Huilai came to ask for money, what Jiang's parents said, the jewelry his mother lost, and how abnormal his grandmother was in those days. He didn't know what the connection was, but he just felt that these things might not have anything to do with her, as Fang Xiaohuai said. Everyone dislikes her, and everyone wants to harm her. Is it possible that she is a favorite? Who would dislike her? Song Mohuan returned home, but Fang Xiaohuai had not returned yet. He started to look through the big closet. He knew that there were 3 drawers in the closet, one of which was locked. That drawer was where Fang Xiaohuai kept their bank book and some family documents. Fang Xiaohuai usually keeps these things, and she has never even looked at them. Only say hello to Fang Xiaohuai in advance when you need it. Especially that passbook, even he himself didn't know how much money his family had. Looking at the strong iron general, he directly found an axe to destroy the lock. Opening the drawer, there were indeed a lot of documents neatly placed inside. Of course, there were also a few boxes. He opened the box and found some jewelry and watches, which were all valuable items. He could recognize the 2 emerald bracelets. Aren't these the ones thrown away from his mother's jewelry box? Other things, although he didn't know where they came from, they were all valuable. With their wages, they cannot live such a luxurious life. There are 2 passbooks sandwiched in a green notebook. One passbook has only 500 yuan on it when opened. Looking at that date, the bank book was opened after the 2 of them got married. According to their normal living expenses, being able to save 500 yuan is already a lot. The transaction details can also be seen. Every time a salary is paid, the amount of their salary will also be displayed on it. Prove that this passbook is what they need in daily life. This is more in line with their normal life patterns. But open another passbook. Song Mohuan was almost shocked. There was a lot of money in this passbook. There are hundreds of thousands of them. How could he and Fang Xiaohuai have so much money based on their salaries? Where did all the money come from? I thought of the jewelry my mother had thrown away, and then what Fan Jiangguo said. If I calculated these, it should be more than 10 or more than 200,000. If you put it that way, it really seems like a good thing done by Fang Xiaohuai. End of this chapter.